Hey guys, today I wanted to talk about the phrase that I used to hear quite a lot in high school, and it's go before you're ready. Quite a powerful quote, and I just wanted to reflect on it a little bit. So, I'm one of those people that has to have their phone battery above 95% before going anywhere. In Minecraft, I get nervous when my pickaxe durability is yellow, and in MapleStory, I feel like having a safety net of mesos for no other reason other than it just helps me feel secure. Plainly, I don't like to take a lot of risks. Usually, when I make a decision, I do my best to do my research and make an informed decision, which I feel is a pretty good procedure for most things like voting, developing any strong opinions, and big things like that. But most people probably don't need to waste their time walking up and down the aisle, looking at the different types of milk, and trying to compare which size and brand is the best bang for your buck. Tip though, sometimes there's a unit cost somewhere on the price tag, just an FYI. But my point is, I can spend way too much time just walking back and forth in a grocery store, trying to maximize my hard-earned cash for every single item that I want to buy. So, how does this relate to go before you're ready? Well, this quote is all about taking risks, doing things that we haven't been able to readily prepare for, taking the leap of faith. And so, sometimes it is small things, like making purchases, whether it's at the grocery store, maybe it's online, maybe they're bigger purchases, but sometimes we just need to put ourselves into that risk. Sometimes we just need to take that leap of faith. I like to think that a lot of the risks that we take are basically like character development. Like any good story or just like an RPG, you're maxing out your character. You're developing your character. If you decide to take the risk of go driving, maybe you're like upping your dexterity or something like that. That's a terrible analogy. Don't treat driving like a game, by the way. It's not a game. So another story about me taking risks. I know last time I talked about working in a grocery store, and this one is also about working in a grocery store, but I didn't work in produce. I worked in deli. And if you've never seen a deli, there are these big giant meat slicers, and you can easily chop off a hand if you're not careful. You can lose a finger if you really aren't careful. And for me, that was super intimidating. I came in thinking, I was all happy. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna get a job in produce, and I'm just gonna be doing the exact same thing. I'm gonna be stocking fruit, I'm gonna be stocking vegetables. Hopefully there's no cucumber juice, water stuff that's gonna saturate my hand. But no, I got put in the deli because that's where they needed people. And for me, that was a risk I had to take. Every single day that I came in, it's not like my life was at risk. I had to wear a hairnet, and that's really about it. Maybe the scariest thing is serving people, but for me, as a working college student, I just wanted to make money over the summer so I could buy stuff. And for me, it paid off in not only work experience, but also for monetary value. Granted, it wasn't a lot, but for a college student, I think any money you can get is worth it. So yeah, back to those big scary meat slicers. We got a new hire one day, and he was a rising college freshman, and he worked the night shift, and I worked the morning day shift. And so I came in the next day, and people were like, "Oh, did you hear what happened to Paul? We're gonna call him Paul." And I was like, "What happened?" And apparently he was cleaning the slicers as we're required to clean them every single night. And apparently he cut his pinky on one of the meat slicers, and there was blood everywhere. And so instead of just standing there, because why would you? I mean, if there's a giant cut in your pinky, you're not just gonna stand there and just, hey guys, I think I cut myself a little bit while you're just dripping blood. So instead, this probably wasn't as smart, is that he ran outside and then he passed out. Which wasn't so good because our store is like a 5-minute walk from a hospital. Like, it was literally across the street, and so they had to call an ambulance. And so you had to pay, because this is in the US, the ambulance bills are way too much. And so he went in there, he had to get stitches and everything like that. And that was his risk, putting his time into this job, but it has the risk of potentially slicing your finger. Not to stop anyone from going into the deli industry, or if you're already working as a deli worker and you're watching this, that doesn't happen very often. I think I've had one instance where I got a little bit of my pinky, but it wasn't even that bad, and especially because they're so sharp, the wound does clean up pretty nicely. Anyway, I also got burned like 3 different times. That was more dangerous. The ovens were more dangerous than meat slicers. But that's our risk. I think we do take risks every single day, and sometimes we don't think about it. You could even say that just getting up in the morning is a risk, which I guess even like staying in bed is also a risk because of like back pain and stuff like that. But every single day we take our risks, and sometimes we do our best to calculate them, and we want to find the best strat. If this was like a visual novel, we want to find the best ending. Sometimes you want to optimize. How can I get from point A to point B the quickest? How can I save the most amount of money going from point A to point B? But sometimes it's best to just go with what you have. Sometimes you just need to find the generic brand of milk and just take that off the shelf. Sometimes, you don't have time to waste. I think the biggest point of it is because when we do put in our time into researching, we are giving up time. So I guess that's sort of the moral of it, is that when you're making any sort of decision, yes, it is good to do your research, to do your background research, depending on how important it is, of course. I think there's a very big difference between looking at different brands of milk and also deciding who you're going to vote for. And sometimes I think it's best just to find like 1 or 2 options that work and go with that. If you're shopping online for like a vacuum cleaner on Amazon, I don't think you need to go through like 10 different vacuum cleaners and compare like, oh, this one has like this suction power, but this one is a little bit cheaper. I think sometimes you can just like look up the list and honestly just go into the first one that's right there that strikes your fancy and just buy that one. I think that's just fine. Because yes, you are taking a risk. Is it less calculated? Yes, but it's a lot more just efficient, just because it may not be such a impactful decision. Who knows? Maybe different lines of vacuum cleaners are just really variable, and you might just get a diamond in the rough, or you might get a terrible vacuum cleaner just because you didn't do your research. But I'd like to think that our modern standards for vacuum cleaners are passable. I don't know how this became about vacuum cleaners. Anyway, point is, there's a lot of risk. There's a lot of fears that if we make the wrong choice, there's a lot that there might be a lot of bad things that can come out of that. But if you can take anything away from here today, don't be afraid to take that leap of faith. Sometimes you need to have that push, just that 3, 2, 1 go, and trust that the decision you made is right. Whether it's the best decision, sometimes you don't have time to look back and get weighed down by regret. I hope you guys got something out of this today, and let me know if you did down below. And to wherever you are in the world, thank you so much for watching, and until we meet again, take care, everyone.